Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Pumpkinhead II Blood Wings. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to give you all my overall thoughts about the movie, and my overall thoughts and opinion of the movie are that it's decent. It was okay. I had a alright time with it. It didn't totally blow me away, but it was it was a decent enough sequel. So, I didn't hate it by any means. Didn't love it. It was just, middle of the road. All right, had a decent time. So, now that I've given you all my opinion of the movie, I'm going to jump into a quick plot summary. So, you got this group of kids. The main girl in the movie is the sheriff's daughter, and they just moved back into town. The sheriff grew up in this town, and then he was a police officer in Manhattan. Now he's moved back to his hometown. He's the sheriff, and his daughter, she's kind of a troublemaker. She meets this group of kids. They're kind of the bad kids, and they start, causing trouble in the neighborhood. They're skipping school, sipping drinks, smoking cigs, all that fun stuff. And, while she's hanging out with these kids one night, they're driving, and the guy driving, he's the craziest one. He's like the main love interest for the main girl. This kid's nuts, man. I mean, I understand, teenagers are crazy. I was crazy when I was a teenager, but this kid's a straight up psychopath. But anyways, he's driving and he keeps like turning off his lights as a prank on this like old country road where there's like no street lights, you can't see anything. He's like, haha, let me just turn off my lights. So he turns off his lights and he accidentally hits this old witch, which is which. But anyways, this old witch is she's different than the witch in the first one. I think she doesn't look the same, and this whole movie is it kind of it does follow the same mythology and stuff like that of the first one, but it kind of changes it. So I'll get into that later. But yeah, this is pretty sure it's a different old crusty lady. So they hit the old crusty lady and they go back to her little cabin to, see if she's all right, because the main guy, he was just ready to drive off. He's like, whatever. He's like, she's probably fine. She disappeared. It's all good. I mean, I'm, just a total piece of work. I don't care. Like, we just hit a woman, whatever. Let's just peace out. Let's just get out of here. But anyways, all of his friends actually have morals and aren't crazy, so they're like, all right, let's go back to her cabin, just make sure that she's all right. I don't want this on my conscience. I don't want to get in trouble, blah blah blah. So they go back to her cabin. They find all this magical stuff, and there's this all this stuff to like resurrect the dead, and they see kind of this like shrine out in her yard. And the main love interest guy, the super bad boy guy, he like takes this one vial of blood. It's like this magical blood, but then the witch woman comes back, and this fool just like punches her in the face. Instead of just returning the blood, she's like, hey, can I please have my magical cursed demonic blood back? And a rational person would just give it back. But like I've said, this kid, he's a straight up psycho. So he just punches this 80-year-old woman in the face and steals her property right in front of her. Like, instead of being like, okay, you caught me red-handed, I'll give it back. So yeah, he steals the blood, and then basically at the beginning of the movie, we saw that this old witch woman was taking care of this deformed kid, and this was like back in the 50s. Like the beginning of the movie was a flashback. This the rest of the movie takes place in the 90s, which was when it came out. But anyways, this witch woman in the beginning of the movie, in the flashback, was taking care of this deformed kid, and she has the deformed kid buried in her yard because all these other neighborhood kids killed him for like no reason. So yeah, she has him buried in her yard, and she was using all this magical stuff to try to resurrect him. So the kids just like take it upon themselves to resurrect this deformed kid, Tommy, and they like inadvertently burn the lady's house down, and they try to save her, but they can't save her. She doesn't die right away, but she's in like critical condition for the rest of the movie, so they messed her up, and then they resurrected Tommy, the deformed kid who got killed like back in the day, and yeah, Tommy's resurrected. He turns into Pumpkinhead, and then Pumpkinhead is pursuing this group of kids for what they did for like hitting the old lady and stuff. And then Pumpkinhead is also pursuing this group of older gentlemen, and we don't know why they're being pursued by Pumpkinhead until later in the movie. So that might have been kind of long-winded, but yeah, that's the basic plot summary. I'm not trying to give too many spoilers. I'm trying to work on that a little bit in my videos. I'll just say the entire movie. But moving on to does that even make sense? I don't know. Moving on to just random stuff in the actual review. There was a lot of people that I recognized from other movies, like mainly other horror movies in this, so I'm just gonna kind of point them out and give a little shout out. So like I said, the main girl is the sheriff's daughter, and the sheriff, he's, you know, one of the main characters in the movie. So he is actually the guy. He's played by the guy who played the dad in the first Hellraiser movie. So that was cool to see him. The super bad boy guy who was the main love interest, he was the guy he was in Return of the Living Dead 3, and he's also in Meatballs 4. I don't know if people are as familiar with that movie, but I like that movie, and you know, I recognize him from those two films. You also have a short appearance from Linnea Quigley. You know, she's in the first Return of the Living Dead. She's in a bunch of stuff. She's like a Scream Queen horror icon at this point. I mean, she's the bomb. Cool to see her. And then Jason himself, Kane Hodder, makes an appearance. For once, like, not suited up. Because, you know, he played Jason in quite a few of like the later entries of the Friday the 13th films, and he was also Victor Crowley in all the Hatchet films. So you know, he's a stunt guy. He usually plays these monstrous characters, and he's all in all kinds of makeup and stuff. But in this, he just, you know, came through as himself, and I recognized him right away. I'm like, oh snap, Kane Hodder's in this. He had a very short part as well, but it was cool to see him, because I like pretty much all the Jason movies that he's in, except I don't like Jason Goes to Hell, but like part 7 and 8 are pretty good, and then Jason X I really like, which I know people hate on that movie, but I really like that. And the Hatchet films are decent. They're not my fave, but the Hatchet films are pretty cool. So yeah, I would say I'm a fan of Kane Hodder. You know, people are obsessed with him though. They whenever they bring up Jason, they only talk about him. Like, there was other good actors who played Jason. Like, I like Kane Hodder, but everyone just acts like he's the best Jason ever. Like, oh, why didn't he get picked to play Jason in Freddy vs. Jason? Like, I thought, who was it in that movie? Was it Ken Kersinger? I thought he was good too. Like, people trip like only one person can be Jason. I like all the people who played him pretty much. They're all good, but I like Kane Hodder. I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent. So yeah, it was cool to see some familiar faces. And yeah, I kind of briefly mentioned this earlier, but you know, this movie still follows the revenge motivation for Pumpkinhead, but I feel like they kind of changed the rules of the first movie a little bit, And yeah, this movie, it's like it's its own thing because, you know, I'm a crazy person and I've reviewed these movies out of order just because, you know, like I just watch stuff when I can get it on streaming, you know. I don't like to like buy everything, you know. So if I'm not gonna watch it like 50 times, you know, so I watched part 3 and 4 and they kind of follow the same rules as the first one. This one, it still has the revenge motivation, but it's different in the fact that instead of a person who is alive, who was wronged, going to, you know, resurrect Pumpkinhead, Pumpkinhead is resurrected like from the corpse of this, you know, dead guy who got wronged like all these years ago, and he like is Pumpkinhead. This guy is Pumpkinhead. Like towards the end of the film, they like call him by his name and they reference that like his soul turned into Pumpkinhead. So it's not really like, you know, like in the other films where it's like whoever decided to resurrect Pumpkinhead, they're like when Pumpkinhead's killing, they're kind of they have this like symbiotic relationship where they're like seeing what's going on and stuff. There is that also with like the old woman, like she's seeing all Pumpkinhead's killings, but it's almost like two people summon Pumpkinhead, and Pumpkinhead isn't just this like demonic entity on its own. It's like a person's soul is Pumpkinhead, and they are Pumpkinhead. So they kind of bent the rules a little bit in this one, which for me made it a little bit harder to follow. But it they didn't change it so drastically. Like it was still like the revenge motivation. You still had like the older witch woman had to summon Pumpkinhead. Well, actually the kids summoned Pumpkinhead, but you know what I mean. Like it was still it still followed most of the rules from the first movie, but it did change it a little bit. And one thing I was confused about was like, so are they trying to say that this guy like this guy has always been Pumpkinhead? So like, was this guy Pumpkinhead in the first one, or maybe I'm being like a silly goof here and I'm getting timelines mixed up? But that one came out in '88. So if this guy died in the '50s you know in this movie, like he could be Pumpkinhead in the first movie. I don't know. Like, is that what they're trying to say? Like, this is Pumpkinhead's backstory. Really, Pumpkinhead is the soul of this one guy who was wronged, and now he can be summoned for other people getting revenge. I don't know. I might just be reading too deep into it, but I was like thinking that. And if that is the case, I don't really like that. I kind of like the idea of Pumpkinhead being his own thing. He's just this demon. He's not human at all. He doesn't like have a soul. Like that's how I like to look at Pumpkinhead. But I was just thinking, like, is that what they're saying? Like, this is Pumpkinhead's backstory? But I don't know. Like I said, this movie kind of it's kind of its own thing. It's not really like the first one and like the other sequels. I mean, it is like them, but the rules are different. But yeah, that was just something that I was thinking about like the whole time I was watching the movie. I'm like, this is a little bit different. They're kind of changing things up here, but it didn't, like I said, it didn't bother me that much, and it was kind of cool. Like the whole motivation and the whole backstory was pretty cool. Moving on, so there's this at one point in the movie, the sheriff, he's like, do you know about there's the Pumpkinhead nursery rhyme that, you know, people would say around here when they were kids, and, you know, everyone knows, like, some of these iconic horror nursery rhymes, like, most notably, the Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Everyone knows that, and it's super catchy. So this guy was trying to say, like, oh, do you know the Pumpkinhead nursery rhyme? And it was like the most long-winded thing. I feel like it didn't even like really rhyme that much. And like immediately after he said it, I forgot it. It's like, yo, this dude thinks he's slick. He thinks like, you know, this is some like iconic nursery rhyme. This is gonna catch on. Like, I wonder if the filmmakers were thinking like, this is gonna catch on. This is gonna be like 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. People are gonna say this. Like, I can't even. A minute after I heard it, I couldn't even remember it. It was just like all disjointed. Like, yo, next time you're trying to make a nursery rhyme for a horror villain, make it catchy, make it short, make it rhyme, make it cool. Like he was just like, he was just acting like, oh yeah, this is like the iconic Pumpkinhead nursery rhyme, and it was like forgettable and lame. But I I don't know if that was the same one the kids were saying in the first one, because I remember in the first one those kids who were like on the back of the pickup truck and all dirty, they're kind of reciting this little nursery rhyme about Pumpkinhead. I feel like that one was different and more catchy. This one was just like, this dude was like recited an entire paragraph, and it was like, I was like, this is a lame nursery rhyme. Like, just make it 1, 2 Pumpkinheads coming for you. That would be sick. Like, I would rock with that. But yeah, this was, I was just thinking about this nursery rhyme like the whole time. I was like, man, like, such a missed opportunity. Like, they just made the lamest nursery rhyme. They're trying to be Nightmare on Elm Street so hard out here. But no, I'm just hating. I'm just joking. But that was something that I noticed. Like, the nursery rhyme was not it. That was not. It was not not that good. Not that catchy. Moving on. So I've kind of talked about how the main, like, male love interest to the main girl is like a bad boy but over the top. Okay, so I just don't get how the main girl is into this guy, because I can totally see that, you know, bad boys are attractive and appealing, because, you know, you're like a little mysterious, you're a little fun. But I feel like there's like a point, like there's like a happy middle ground, a happy medium. Like, you want to be like kind of bad but not crazy and still have your stuff together. This dude was a straight up psychopath, and she was still into him. Like, he was, you know, turning his lights off, driving down the street, and then he keeps like trying to one up himself, and he's like, let's get into more crazy stuff, let's summon the dead, let's do this, let's do that. And then he's like punching old ladies in the face, and, you know, pulling guns out on his friends and stuff. And it's like, I mean, what do you see in this guy? Like, at first he's kind of cool, like he's just like a normal bad boy. He's like, you know, sipping some drinks, smoking some cigs, skipping school. That's all good. That's like normal bad boy stuff. He's kind of fun, you know? But then, like, he just keeps getting like more unlikable and more unlikable, and like the girl is still into him. I mean, she questions and stuff, but she's still like attracted to him, and all his friends like stick around. It's like, yo, y'all need to ditch this psycho. Like, this fool's straight up nuts. Once he punched that old lady, I'm like, hell nah, dude. Like, you gotta like help old ladies cross the street and stuff. Like, you better put some respect on old ladies, man. Like, he's, maybe the fact that I'm calling old ladies is not putting respect on them, but just for the video, I'm saying that this, you know, old lady character, whatever. But man, once he punched that lady in the face, I'm like, yo, this fool's gotta go, dude. But basically, yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Like, I don't know why the main girl was interested in him, and why these kids still wanted to hang with this guy, because this guy was not cool, man. And yet, like, I talked about the flashback scene. The kids in that were crazy too. Like, I think they might have thought that the way, you know, it depicted it in the movie, I think the kids might have thought that this deformed kid was like demonic or something. But I mean, come on, even back then you would know that this kid, he's just like deformed. He's just, you know, he's a normal kid. He's not demonic. He just has some physical deformities. Like, okay, I could see that, like, kids are mean, you know, like maybe they pull a prank on him and he accidentally dies. Like, you see so many horror movies where there's, you know, some nerdy kid or some deformed kid, and they pull a prank on him, and it backfires, and the kid accidentally dies, and then enacts revenge on those bullies. But like The Burning, like, they're not trying to kill Cropsy. they're just trying to mess with Cropsy and they accidentally kill him. Like these kids at the beginning of the movie, in the flashback, are just they just murder this kid. They're just stabbing him, and I think they like hang him. Like, I mean, the people in this movie are just, they're evil, man. Like, I mean, I don't know. It would have been more digestible if it was if it was an accident where they were like, oh, this kid, he's different than us. Oh, we don't understand it. We're some bad kids. We're some crazy kids. Let's pull a prank on him. And then the prank goes wrong and then he accidentally dies. But like, I don't know. You're just gonna like have these kids just murder a kid because they think he's like demonic. It doesn't add up in my opinion. Like is everyone in this, like, that's what I'm saying, all the people in this movie, they're just evil. Like in all the other Pumpkinhead movies, it's like accidental stuff. I mean, the stuff where the group of kids in this hit the lady, that was an accident. But like, just so much of this stuff, like, it's not accidental. Like in the first one, it was like the one guy did become an a-hole, but that was like after he accidentally killed the kid, and he was drinking and he was on probation. He didn't want to get caught. Like I don't know, the characters in this were just, I don't know, they were just evil, man. It was hard to like believe that they were like that bad. You know what I mean? It's like it kind of worked because you didn't like sympathize for them as much. I don't know if you're like, yeah, because I guess you're not supposed to. But I mean, aren't you supposed to? Because they're the victims in the movie, so aren't you supposed to sympathize with them? But they're the victims, but then they're like super unlikable. So I don't know. The more I think about this, the more I get confused. So that was just something that I was thinking about too. It's not like a like or a dislike. It's just something that I'm trying to point out. And then here's the last couple things I'm going to talk about here. So the kills weren't really anything special. I feel like a lot of them were just like kind of like the same thing over and over, and I feel like there were like quite a few cutaways, but some of them were decent. Like there's this one guy, he got hung on like a meat hook and all his like limbs ripped off. That was kind of cool. And then like they, like the sheriff and this one doctor come and like investigate it after, and you see the aftermath. That's kind of cool. The main guy gets it, like the main love interest guy, which is what I keep calling him, he gets his head ripped off. That's pretty cool. It looks kind of fake, but it looks good enough. It's pretty cool. Like when he actually gets the head ripped, you see all like the tendons and all the veins and stuff, and it looks pretty good. But my favorite kill was, there's this couple that was like in the group of friends, and Pumpkinhead gets this giant pole, and he stabs it through the girlfriend's chest, and then he stabs it through like the boyfriend's chest and hoists him up to like a tree, and they're both like skewered together like this, and it like reminded me of like a shish kebab. Like that's what I wrote down, like shish kebab kill was the best kill. I thought that was the best kill because it looked really good. You got to see everything, and I feel like it was pretty creative. So that was my favorite kill. But yeah, the kills in this, they were like serviceable, but nothing crazy, not too creative, not the best gore, but definitely not bad by any means. And then I just wanted to mention, like, Pumpkinhead in this did look good. So I think in this, Pumpkinhead is just, it's like the first one was just like a guy in a suit. It's all practical. Pumpkinhead looked really good. He looked slightly different than the first movie, but like not in a bad way, just like a little bit different. But yeah, Pumpkinhead looked great, all practical. I've said this in my review of the first movie. I think he is an iconic looking monster. So yeah, he looked great in this. So yeah, that was the last thing I had in my notes. So I'm gonna get into a recommendation and then I'm gonna head out. So you know, this movie, like I said, it's not bad by any means. It's it's just okay. It's, you know, would I really watch it again? Would I really rewatch this a lot? Probably not. Um, in terms of a recommendation, I would say if, you know, if you are a fan of the first movie, I would say this movie is worth checking out, but I wouldn't go out and like spend a bunch of money on it. Like if you could find it for free on streaming, I watched this free on the streaming service Plex. So if you have Plex, it's on Plex right now. Yeah, I would watch this if you could watch it for free on streaming. If you could find it like the DVD for like $5 or less, or if you could like rent it online for like $3. But I wouldn't spend more than like $5 for this. Like, don't go out and, because I don't know if this might be out of print. I think it said they released a Blu-ray, but I don't think I've seen that. The only DVD I've seen of this is in like a combo pack with like Leprechaun and Wishmaster, and I forgot how much that's going for on eBay, but might be like, it might be relatively cheap actually. But yeah, I would recommend this if you like the first movie. It's you know, it's a decent enough time. I think it's worth checking out. But you know, it's not the best. It's not the best thing ever. You know, it's just, like I said, it's just a decent movie. So yeah, don't go out and spend a bunch of money on it. But that's I gave my recommendation there. So I pretty much said everything that I have to say. So I'm gonna wrap things up here. Thank you all very much for watching, and peace out.